Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to my review for the Grand Tour Presents Lochdown, the newest special from the Grand Tour team of Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May. Now those of you who have been following my channel for some time know that I'm a huge fan of these guys. I was a huge fan of Top Gear for many years before they left the BBC, and have been arguably an even bigger fan of the Grand Tour since they started that. Now, a couple of years ago, they stopped doing the studio episodes, and they just focused solely on the specials. And is this their third standalone special now? It could be. I'm just trying to remember. Double checking here, guys. Yeah, I think it is. It's their third standalone special since they stopped the studio episodes. The first one was Seaman, then we got A Massive Hunt, and this is The Grand Tour Presents Lochdown. And the title has two meanings, really. Obviously, it was filmed during COVID lockdown last year in 2020, and it is based in Scotland this time, hence Lochdown, as in Loch Ness Monster and all that. I'm sure you get the idea behind the title. Now, they did it in Scotland for a number of reasons. I do believe the next special is going to be set in the UK as well, due to COVID restrictions. But if that's as entertaining as this, I'm all for it, because I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Initially, when it started, it felt very much like one of the specials they used to do years ago. And they weren't really specials, like on the Top Gear episodes and even some of the Grand Tour episodes. You know, they would do like a special where they would choose three cars and they'd run them through the paces, and it would be spread out throughout that hour-long episode on Top Gear or Grand Tour. And initially it felt a little bit like that, and I'm thinking, how are they going to extend this over 90 minutes? Well, I needn't have worried, because they absolutely did. This episode focused on so many areas, so many cliches, that if you followed these guys for a number of years, you know this film is crammed full of a lot of the things that they love and hate about driving and things like that, and it ticked an awful lot of boxes. So essentially they turn up in Scotland with three huge American cars, and the idea is, you know, the story they give is when they were kids they always looked at these American cars on TV shows and things and wondered why they never caught on in this country. So they decide to get three American cars and drive them around Scotland to showcase this and hopefully inspire people to do it. So they've all got these massive cars, as you could imagine, driving around the small streets in places like Edinburgh and stuff like that. They are ridiculous and stick out like a sore thumb and can't get down many of the narrow streets very well. They do the usual things that you would expect in an episode like this. They have a race. By that I mean they bring Abby back, if you remember from the Grand Tour. She was like the race driver. And she drives like a traditional Scottish car from years gone by around the track, and they had to beat that time. As you could imagine, it doesn't go well. In big, massive, luxury American cars. Then they decide to try and answer a question, which is the worst car from America or Russia. So they've basically got three American cars that they hate and three Russian cars that they hate. And they stick them all on like this mud track, drive around, and the one that dies first, basically, which car gives up first, essentially is the winner, which that will show which is the worst car. And some of the cars you'll recognise on here, one in particular is the car that Walter White drove in Breaking Bad. Famously, a really terrible car. They get lost along the way, as you won't be surprised. And because they can't stay in hotels, because of the lockdown, they have to basically, well, initially they end up staying in caravans. Now, if you know these guys, these three guys and their history with caravans, you could imagine that that's not going to end well, and as it doesn't on this episode. So they eventually have to end up staying in Scottish castles. So they have to find castles every time they want to have a sleepover. They poke fun at, like, you know, Scottish traditions of frying all their food and putting batter on it. James May is a chef, and he keeps serving up food with batter all over it, including, you know, peas and eggs, you name it. He just batters everything and they're having that. They also, partway through the episode, decide to get 3 American muscle cars to drive about. So Clarkson has a Mustang, May has a Chevrolet Camaro, and Hammond has a Dodge Charger. So they also showcase some of the most famous American muscle cars, which was really cool. And then they have a realization near about 3/4 of the way through the episode that they are sticking out like a sore thumb. They are quite embarrassing to own these cars because they're very extravagant and they want to be with their own. So Willman, the producer, says you've got to drive to this location and I've created an American commune for you. So they have to head off again on another 200-mile journey. They also have to end up building this floating bridge to get across to this island, which is, again, if you know these guys and their history with building bridges or bridges in general, you know this isn't going to go particularly well. But it's very entertaining to watch. There's boats get sunk. There's all sorts of things go wrong. And this episode was, for me, it was just absolutely crammed full of bits, funny moments, and the chemistry is just here again, guys. I mean, I've just watched Jeremy Clarkson's Farm, thoroughly enjoyed that. But this reminded me once again why these guys are just absolute magic. They've got chemistry, it's lightning in a bottle, and it is hilarious, it's entertaining. Yes, it's some of it's staged. They get accused of that all the time, and of course it is, but some of it is very, very genuine too, some of the things that they get up to in this episode. So for me, a huge, strong 9 out of 10. Really entertained by this. I'm going to rewatch it again. I enjoyed it that much. So check it out, guys. It's on Amazon Prime right now. So thank you very much for watching.